everybody, and welcome to another ASMR video here on the channel. In tonight's video, what I have for you is another scary Reddit video, but this time it's true stories, and we're back on Let's Not Meet. A lot of you requested a return to this page, so here we are. As we're now in the kind of run-up to Halloween, I think it's like 10 days away or something like that. This is one of 3, technically 4 if you remember, if you're a ghost hunter that is. This is number 1, then basically what I'm trying to spit out is the content for the next 10 days or so are all going to be kind of scary and Halloween themed kind of thing. So keep your eyes peeled for a video, I think on Sunday, and then next week on like Wednesday or Thursday maybe. But then if you're a ghost hunter, which is a tier of membership, you'll also get a 1 hour no sleep video on Halloween, which I believe is Friday, next Friday. So keep your eyes peeled for that. So if you're not a ghost hunter yet, now would maybe be a good time to go ahead and sign up. But anyways, enough shameless self-promotion. Let's get into some scary real-life tales. The first one is from EtherHunt4805. We camped next to a tent that never stopped laughing. This happened back in 2015 or 2016, when my ex-boyfriend and I went camping in Mendocino, California. A few sites over was this tiny green one-person tent, the kind that barely fits a body. What struck me right away was how empty the site looked. No cooler, no chair, no lantern, no shoes outside. Just this little tent zipped up tight. We went to bed, and sometime after 10 PM it started. Laughter. Not a group around a fire, not drunk campers, and definitely not an animal. I know what barred owls and coyotes sound like. This was human laughter. At first I thought it was maybe a radio or a Bluetooth speaker, but it never stopped, not once. All night long, until sunrise, same tone, same rhythm, no pauses for breath. Too steady, too repetitive to be a person in psychosis or on drugs. It sounded mechanical, like a loop. That's what makes it worse, because if it wasn't someone actually laughing, then it was someone who had recorded laughter beforehand and brought it out into the woods to sit in that tiny tent in the dark and listen to it for hours. When we woke up around 6:30 to 7 AM, the laughter was still going. We packed up fast and left without ever seeing who or what was inside. And even now, years later, I can't shake the thought that someone actually decided that was how they wanted to spend the night. A tent, a recording of endless laughter, and the silence of the woods around them. Let's not meet. Damn, that is horrendous. I'm not gonna lie. I wouldn't be lasting the night. No way. Someone's commented what would have been even creepier is if you looked into the tent and discovered it was just a recording, as you said, but nobody else was in the tent. But definitely super, super creepy. Next is from Candid Cello 5188. Guy I haven't met at a conference wanted to meet me desperately. After I attended a work-related conference, I received a creepy LinkedIn connection request from Tom, with a note saying, "We attended the same talk together. I liked how you laughed, but we never got a chance to say hello." I don't recall the exact wording, but I hope you get an idea. I found the message extremely odd because as several folks saw my company t-shirt at the conference, between the talks or during the meals, and spoke enthusiastically about my company's work. I deleted the LinkedIn invite without further thoughts. About 2 days later, a long-lost high school friend, Julia, emailed me saying Tom attended the conference, saw me but never got a chance to connect. Julia explained Tom was her former client, maybe anxious about reaching out to people and really wanted to meet me. She also CC'd this guy in the email. Then Tom replied on the thread starting a chat. I was pissed how she gave away my email address without my permission. I explained that without Tom and CC, I indeed attended the conference, but I no longer add people I do not know to my social network due to the number of online frauds. She apologised. Then Tom sent connection requests to my other social networks for friends and family. My other accounts are private. I deleted the invites. Tom followed my public, work-related social account, copied the format of my account to his own and reposted the content. I removed him from the followers, but the behaviour didn't stop. I blocked him, but this in theory doesn't prevent him from seeing the content on a private window. The notion that Tom constantly being rejected scared me. Not my first time encountering such kind of people. You may say that I should give him a chance. No one's going to say that. But I really do not owe him an explanation. I told my siblings so that they're now on high alert on any suspicious messages. Damn. That's really creepy. I mean, he's clearly instantly just given terrible vibes. Like, saying I like how you laughed is unfathomably creepy. But yeah, definitely leaning into kind of like stalker territory there. Mental, really. Right, let's move on to this one from Scorpio Crown. A slightly longer one here. So strap in, if you pardon the pun, as this one is called, the Uber driver who wanted me for himself. English is not my first language, and I'm writing on my phone, so I apologise in advance for any mistakes. This happened 7 years ago while my former relationship was ending. I was 27 years old at the time. Me and my ex-boyfriend weren't living together anymore. We were separated for a few months, but not quite broken up yet. I just found out from his twin brother that he was keeping me as a backup while having fun with other girls, so I decided to end things. It was my birthday. I was a bit emotional about this whole situation, so I decided to go to his place and end it properly, face to face. I took an Uber and went to the other side of the city, very far away from where I live and in a not so friendly or safe for girls area. I got there, we talked and ended things on good terms given the situation. Now it was time to call an Uber and go back home. This was happening in November on a rainy night at about 2 AM. My ride came, I got in, and I was just looking out the window and thinking. After 5 minutes or so, I noticed that my Uber driver was looking at me in the rearview mirror in every second when he could take his eyes off the road. I brushed it off. This wasn't the first time it had happened, and I was honestly pretty too sad to care. But then I noticed that he slowed down a lot. This was when I started to pay attention to my surroundings, but without giving him the sensation that I was doing so. I noticed that he was a thin and tall guy, 25 to 30 years old. He looked like he wasn't taking very good care of himself, and his car was actually pretty dirty. I I was just hoping to get home safe and fast at this point. Then out of nowhere, he started talking. Driver, you are beautiful. Me, long pause. Thanks. Driver, what's your name? Me. Long pause, and then I whisper my name. I realised that he could see it in the Uber app anyway. Driver, what a hot name. I've always wanted to have sex with a girl named my name. What the hell? It's not funny because it's terrifying, but what is with these people? Me, total terrified silence. Driver, staring at me in the rearview mirror. He started talking and rambling without pause, but expecting clear responses and reactions from me. Driver, do you have a boyfriend? Me, yes. Driver, what a shame. I wanted you for myself. But I don't mind the boyfriend. Let's go somewhere else. Come on, change the address in the app. 'Cause I can't, only you can. I know a place where we can go be alone and smoke some weed. Me, no, I can't. Take me to the address from the app. At this point I started to pay close attention to the route he was taking. I was so ready to jump out of the car if the situation had gotten really dangerous. Then he puts on a local rap song which I have never heard before. The lyrics were very explicit, describing what the singer does to a girl during sex. Extremely explicit lyrics. Gosh. Driver, hear that? That's how having sex with me would be like. Oh yes, I would. Okay, I'm not going to repeat this in an ASMR video. You will love it and come back begging for more. Me, total silence. At this point I started messaging my ex and telling him what was happening. It was also a good excuse to not have to look at him or reply. Driver says, what do you think about that? Me, silence, texting my ex. Then the driver yells. I asked, what do you think about that? My heart dropped. I froze. Me, well, I haven't heard this song before. Good response. Driver says, do you smoke weed? And I reply, no. Driver, smoke a joint with me? Me, no thank you. Driver, are you home alone? I could call it a night and go to your place and show you what I'm talking about. Goodness gracious me. My heart was racing so bad at this point. I was so scared and shaking so hard. I was home alone, actually living alone. I decided to start recording him from here on and send the recording to my ex. No, my parents are waiting for me, I said. Ugh, that sucks, man, but we can stay in the car. I'll join you on the back seat. We'll find a spot where it's dark. Me, no, I need to go home. I'm tired. Driver, come on. I'll make you 3 times in 10 minutes. Trust me. Where did I put that weed? And he started searching for it. My ex listened to this part and called me. I was so relieved when I saw my phone ringing. I answered and I made sure that the driver would hear that I'm on the phone with someone. He kept on talking, but I didn't hear much because he seemed to be upset about my phone call, and he was mostly talking to himself. My ex was furious but told me to say out loud things like where I am, when I got home, and other stuff like my mum texted me and is waiting for me, to say that I will call him when I get home, etc. I ended the phone call and the driver asked me if that was my boyfriend. I said that it was. He kept silent for about 5 minutes and I was so anxious to get home. We had like 5 minutes more before getting to my address. I mean, not to interrupt the flow of the story, but I probably would have... Oh no, because he's already seen the address. I was going to say like change the address to the ex-boyfriend's again, but because I would not want him seeing where I lived, but I guess he's already seen it, so it doesn't really help, does it? he saw on the map that we were getting close, he started asking me again to go somewhere or stay in the car with him to smoke with him, to tell him everything about me and my life, that he thinks he fell in love, to break up with my boyfriend. His speech was getting scarier and he was getting more and more anxious that he couldn't convince me. He was turning to look at me, stop at green stop so he could turn to me. After what seemed like forever and after shaking like a leaf, when we got in front of my building, I practically jumped out of the car while he was like, no, don't go, where is your apartment? Let me come with you. I ran and entered the building. I'd previously taken my keys out of my bag to open the intercom. I didn't turn on the light on the staircase because I didn't want him to see where in the block I live. Okay, smart. It's a small block with only 4 floors. I stood there in darkness and peeked out the window to see if he was gone. He wasn't. He was looking at the block, probably waiting to see exactly what lights would turn on, aka where I live. I couldn't even enter my apartment because I'd left the lights on in my hallway and he would have seen that. I waited like 5 minutes and he slowly left. I quickly entered my apartment. I locked everything, but I did not turn on or off any lights, so it wouldn't seem like someone got home or something. I went to peek out the window to be sure he had indeed left, but surprise, he was back and parked this time. I was scared out of my mind. I know that many would say I should have called the police, but in my country, the police doesn't come for stuff like this. They barely show up in an hour if someone is being beaten or something. So he was just there, just sitting there. Then I get a message from an unknown number telling me to come back down because he's waiting for me. I froze and cried at this point. It was like my life could completely change because of a 30-minute Uber ride with an unstable person. I didn't even know how he could take my number from the Uber app, or if he buzzed me when he arrived to pick me up. I couldn't even remember. I didn't reply. He sent a few more messages. I remember that one in particular really creeped me out. He was asking me to at least smoke a cigarette with him on the phone so he can hear me breathing and smoking. Oh. I texted back saying to leave me alone. He started calling and I blocked the number. I was afraid that he could get so angry and try to get into the building and find me. I was looking out the window from behind a curtain and I saw that after I blocked him, when he tried to call and I couldn't, he started smashing his phone against the steering wheel. He finally left after 40 minutes or so of staying there. I remained, keeping watch for another 2 hours or so, but he didn't return. Thank God. The next day he messaged and called from another number, but I blocked that one as well. He tried once more 1 year later. I blocked that number too and never heard from him again. I'm also glad that I never saw him or his car again either. Although right now I don't really remember how he looked or what type of car he had. I reported everything to the Uber app and I hope they took measures. Honestly, I don't understand why nobody before me reported him. It didn't feel like it was the first time he did this. It was somehow so easy for him. One of the worst experiences ever. God. That was absolutely horrific. Goodness me, well thankfully he didn't actually act on anything in particular. Because yeah, I'm very surprised he didn't just try to break into the building. It's one of those things that as a man, I'll never really fully relate to this, fear. It's absolutely unbelievable. And this is a youngish guy as well, who clearly is just unbelievably unstable. Oh yeah. Yeah, some of those lines in that couldn't read in an ASMR video. another lovely one here. That sounds lovely. Not, funnily enough. Two guys tried to break in at 5 AM. Early Sunday morning at around 5 AM, I woke up to this violent banging and shaking on my door. I live alone on the second floor of an old apartment building, downtown in a very small town. I've been taking Benadryl to sleep for a few months, and sometimes I sleep weird. So for a moment I thought, did that really happen? And then I heard whoever it was start doing it again. This time these super loud bangs like they're charging the door. That's when I realised both my fan and AC unit were off. The power was off. It stopped after the second time and I heard someone stomp down the stairs, and I laid here processing what just happened. It's dead quiet without the fan, and I heard a guy's voice outside saying no, we were just walking. I'm lying emotionless in fear and trying to think of someone to call. A few months ago my downstairs neighbour got my package by mistake and messaged me on Facebook about it after seeing my name. I've seen her a few times, and I know she has these two absolutely ripped pit bulls. So I message her thinking she won't even see it till she wakes up. Nope, she immediately starts calling me. She says she saw two guys come out of the building after trying her door, mine, and the person across the hall from me, and then tried to lie and say it wasn't them. She's already called the police at this point and the intruders are gone, so I go downstairs to meet her and we find the breaker box door ripped off, and all the switch is off. Which sucks because there's a camera outside, but our landlord said he's trying to back up the footage to see if we call them. Our other neighbour wakes up. She had no idea it was happening. Finally, the downstairs neighbour got the power turned back on and the cops showed up within like 20 minutes to get statements. Apparently the downstairs girl was awake the whole time and heard them trying her door, and her dogs were doing a low growl thing instead of barking. She gave them their descriptions. Cops haven't updated any of us yet. Some of my co-workers said maybe it was the TikTok trend where they kicked the door in. Is that a thing? Thankfully my door opens outwards, not inward, if that's the case. But I feel like cutting the power and trying to open all three units seems more like an actual breaking. I've barely slept since it happened and I'm about to try now. So to the two guys who tried to break in at 5 AM, consider yourselves lucky you aren't being crapped out by a pit bull right now. And let's not ever meet again. Yeah, someone's replied, what kind of a TikTok trend is that? Sooner or later some kid is going to find himself staring down the barrel of a shotgun. Then I very much doubt it'll be funny for them anymore. Yeah, that's fair, like, so, shotgun aside, imagine if they did break into the flat with the two pit bulls, like, I don't think they'd be laughing much, but that's horrendous. But the fact that they killed the power shows it's more of like more of a kind of like calculated break-in, and they probably had more like cruel and nefarious intentions, which is just horrible. Honestly, I have no idea how I think in an apartment it makes it scarier, but also like it's good that she had like neighbours with her who, you know, were all on her side and they were all kind of in it together in a weird way, but still bloody terrifying. Security cameras potentially saved our lives. Before we get into what happened, I want to clarify for better understanding that our house once belonged to two families. Therefore, both the first and ground floors have separate kitchens and bathrooms. We also have a basement that is connected to the garage. But until 2018, my wife and I don't really use the first floor kitchen. We rarely use the bar Things changed when our son was born and going downstairs simply became too tiring in the middle of the night. And that's where all the weird stuff started. It started with small things. We'd wake up in the morning and discover the door to the downstairs office was open, or something was lying where it shouldn't be. Sometimes that something was even chairs. We also started finding plates in the living room, cups in the bathroom, and so on. But hey, we were both tired. Our son wouldn't sleep. The house was in total chaos, and we'd even had episodes of sleepwalking beforehand. So for a long time we found excuses, assuming that one of us had gone downstairs in the middle of the night, out of habit, and simply don't remember it. Having 3 cats that you can blame helped too. Then my wife claimed several times that she'd wake up at night and hear strange sounds coming from downstairs. I've had similar experiences, but then again 3 cats in one house. Then she claimed to see someone's hand downstairs as she passed the stairs. Ugh. But once again we assumed she was still half asleep, / it was shadow or something like that. What really got us worried was a hat. A red winter hat we found in the downstairs bathroom between the bathtub and the washing machine. We had many visitors during this time, everyone wanting to meet our son, but we couldn't recognise it anyway. Even after taking photos and sending it to family and friends, no one picked it up. I remember that night we spent a long time walking around the house, making sure that all the windows and doors were closed. But honestly, I feel like it still hasn't hit us that the situation could be serious. I've no idea if it was denial, like, stuff like this doesn't happen to people like us, or just plain, I'm too tired to care about this too. But then the best possible coincidence happened. My friend was replacing the cameras in her house. The old ones still worked, but the quality was worse and sometimes they would turn off, losing 5 to 30 minutes of recording. Initially she planned to throw them away, but I ended up coming home with her old cameras, and honestly bless her for giving them to me. After the first night with the cameras, we couldn't deny it any longer. We had to call the police. 3 people, 2 men and 1 woman, entered our house through the basement around midnight and spent time on the ground floor. 1 man and woman looked young, maybe early 20s. He had many tattoos on both hands. She had long hair in a braid and wore a dress. She came with a large gym bag. The other man looked older, must have been around 40, and was tall and muscular. Let me put it this way, he alone could have knocked out both me and my wife. And while the other 2 were just hanging out in our house, this man went up to the 1st floor. Unfortunately, there weren't enough cameras, so I have no idea what he was doing. But the footage shows he didn't return to the 2nd floor until an hour later. What happened next? Mostly a lot of waiting. My brother and my wife's father lived with us for a while. We changed the locks in the entire house just in case, and with police, we searched the entire basement. The basement is 2 small and almost empty rooms. There's 1 window, but only a cat could squeeze through it, and it's covered with grates, which finally led to the garage. And that's how my wife and I found out our garage was unlocked. To this day we have no idea if one of us had left it unlocked, or if these people had managed to open it. The police haven't confirmed anything, only that they found fingerprints all over the gate. But yes, they were coming and going through the garage the entire time, and we, not having a car and treating the garage more like a storage unit, didn't even notice. Basically anyone could come and go in our house whenever they wanted. Ugh. What happened next? Well, unfortunately there was no less and less. What we learned was that this older man matched the appearance of the man who attacked the cashier at the gas station on the other side of town. But they didn't have a name. He wasn't in the police database. No one has heard anything about the other two. Did anything strange happen after all this? Yes, one night we had a loud bang outside. We called the police, but nothing was found. Do we still live here? Yes, but over the years we've replaced all the doors and windows. The basement is completely locked at night. We have motion sensors and more cameras, and our 3 cats have been joined by a big dog. Nice. What about our cats in all this mess? Unfortunately, the cameras prove that these little traitors were surprisingly okay with strangers in our home. And my wife and I, we try to keep it light now, but it was actually traumatic. We both went through a lot of what-if scenarios, thinking about all the situations in which we could accidentally go downstairs and meet these people. For a long time my wife was afraid to go down to the basement alone, and honestly same. The fact that we had a small child only added to the guilt. But it's better now. Oh man, these are infinitely more scary than No Sleep. I know No Sleep are written better, but there's something about these that just give me the absolute chills. Like, oh my gosh. I mean, praise the Lord that, nothing happened, and yeah, the fact they've got a young child there just makes it all the more scary. Oh, and the fact that she actually did see it, and oh man, I need to watch some like VeggieTales or something, or Scooby-Doo after this to cleanse my eyeballs. Now we have a clothed man at a nudist campground. So for some much needed context, I am a nudist. Most of us nudists travel to resorts / campgrounds in an area where nudity is allowed because it's private property. These campgrounds are often near the woods or on the outskirts of their respective towns. As nudism isn't exactly an accepted lifestyle. This encounter took place at a campground last July. I won't mention the place for privacy reasons, but just know it sits on about 5 acres of rural land surrounded by hundreds of acres of dense forest and hills. I planned on staying at this campground for 3 nights. It was MW, so besides those who lived on the grounds, there weren't many people out and about, but whatever, I like the seclusion. After checking in and dropping my bag at my cabin, I went over to the pool to swim. After swimming a few laps and enjoying the sunshine, I noticed something. At the top of one of the hills overlooking the campground stood a man looking right at me. Normally that wouldn't mean much, but he was clothed. I should probably mention out that this campground isn't a standard nudist campground. About 90% of nudist campgrounds are clothing optional, meaning you're allowed to wear clothes if you choose, apart for some exceptions like in the pool or shower areas. But this campground was nude only, meaning unless, in the case of extreme weather or women when menstruating, all clothing was prohibited. And I know this place is a strict enforcer of that, so a clothed person was a bit out of the ordinary. At first I thought the man was possibly a worker, being that they usually will wear something while doing maintenance to protect themselves. But this guy was wearing blue jeans and a black hoodie with the hood up. It felt off, especially being that it was 85 degrees outside. He stood there frozen like a statue with his hands in his hoodie pockets. The campground had nature trails that were accessible to the public, but being that it was so far from town, and that all the locals knew of the place, having unsuspected visitors like this was virtually non-existent. Even though I was creeped out by this guy, I knew I needed to tell the people in the office about him to shoo him away. So I got up, dried myself off, and made my way to the office. I told the two older ladies working at the office what I saw. Being that they knew me because I came here often, they took my claim seriously. I brought them to where I saw him by the pool. But yep, you guessed it, he was gone. I was gone for about 2 minutes, giving him plenty of time to walk away. And being that it was so early in the morning, I doubt anyone else saw him. We went up to the top of the hill to see if we could spot him, but no luck. I figured that because he saw me go to the office, and that I just straight up spotted him, that I probably scared him off. He was a creep, yes, but I rationalised the whole thing by thinking he was probably just some local who ventured too far down the trail. So I went on about my day. As the day went on, people came and went as any normal campground would, and I'd almost completely forgotten about the encounter. That was until night fell. This campground offered cabins for rent for guests, and lucky me had the cabin closest to the trail. It was very cosy and small, no more than 2 to 3 parking spaces of room, and had paper thin wood as the walls, allowing me to hear even the faintest of sounds from outside. My cabin was away from pretty much anyone. My nearest neighbour was a local we'll call Sam, who lived in his trailer about 150 feet away from my cabin. I was laying on the bed reading a book when I could hear faint crunching of twigs and grass from outside the cabin, almost like footsteps. At first I thought it was Sam because he usually would smoke around this time, but something about the frequency of the footsteps made them suspicious, as if they were trying to be as discreet as possible. I got up from my bed and slowly peered through the blinds. It took me a while to see, but I could just make out a figure slowly walking towards Sam's trailer. My heart sank. Sam was a pale white man, and I've never seen him clothed before, so the fact that I couldn't make out his pale skin through the darkness made me come to terms of who it was. It was the man from the hill. Same black hoodie, and after confirming, same blue jeans. Whoever this was, he must have picked Sam's trailer for whatever sick plan he had, being that his trailer was the closest to the trail. And then everything hit me all at once. Sam has 2 young daughters in that trailer. They lived there during the summer. Sam was the only one with kids that actually lived at the campground. This guy somehow knew that and has plans to do God knows what. Who knows how long he's been secretly watching them. I saw him on that hill and he was only 100 feet from the trailer, probably doing one last dry run before his plan. I knew I had to do something. I grabbed my phone and called Sam. Calling the police would have been pointless, seeing how far we were from the closest station. The phone rang and rang and rang, and he wasn't picking up. I called again and again, occasionally peeking out the blinds again to see the man walking around the trailer. After the 5th time, I saw the man stand on a box and peer into a window. I decided that I needed to do something drastic. I was going to go out there and handle it myself. I didn't have time to get my clothes from my bag, so I just threw on my hiking boots. And as soon as I opened my cabin door, I hear a high-pitched "Ah!" I snapped my head in the direction of the trailer, and I see all the lights flick on, revealing the man climbing out of the window from the trailer and start running down the trail. Without even thinking, I chased after him. I could hear Sam yell what happened, as one of his daughters explains the situation. Sam then takes off as well, seeing me in pursuit. I could just barely make out the man's blue jeans, but he was much faster than Sam and I. He got away. I stopped to catch my breath, with Sam catching up to me doing the same. I told him what I saw, and we made our way back to the trailer to regroup. By then a few other residents were out of their trailers, with his daughters being The other men went into the trail to see if they could find anything while I called the police. It took 30 minutes for the police to get here and we told them what happened, and soon some officers also went into the woods. We never found out who the man was, and since then, Sam and his daughters have sold their trailer and moved out just weeks later. Oh, that's sad. I haven't been back to that campground since, and from what I hear, the residents have moved on from all this. They put up a fence line throughout the whole property, as well as a volunteer security guard who patrols the premises. So did the man who stalked 2 young girls for who knows how long and attempted to break into their trailer. Let's not meet. Yeah, that's so sad that clearly the girls were too, scared to stay in that trailer, and this horrible creepy man has, ruined what's meant to be, a safe and happy place for them. But yeah, that's, really terrifying, but really good that, that the author was alert and awake to the situation, and even though it was the girl screaming that spooked him, they leapt into action without thinking and sort of chased him away, so no real harm in the end, but still insanely creepy. And we're now going to finish with this one. A creepy man on the bus at 5 AM. My friend 16 and I, 17, a female, had been drinking at our friend's place and were pretty drunk. At around 5 AM we finally decided to head home and took the first bus. However, when we climbed to the back of the bus, a guy, about 16, male, with a goofy hat immediately complimented my friend, saying they were good looking. Without thinking too much, my friend thanked him. As we sat down, the man joined us, sitting right next to me. He went on about how he was so drunk and proceeded to ask my friend for a drink. My friend accepted the offer for €5. However, the man continued the questions as he was looking for the bill in his pockets. He asked for my friend's name and at which stop we would get off. He would repeat the question over and over again, even though my friend told him that they were not comfortable with answering. That's when we actually started to realise the true nature of the situation. Fortunately, that's also when some younger guys decided to step in. They told him to move and stop bothering us. He was very resistant, even though he did eventually obey. He gave the drink back to my friend and went to sit elsewhere. This interaction caused a verbal fight between the man and the younger men. The younger men were also drunk and provoked the older man with some pretty bad insults. Even though the younger men had not handled the situation very well, we wished them good night and told them to take care when we hopped off the bus. Relieved, we started walking towards a tram stop, waited for a bit, got on a tram and waited for it to leave. We were both low-key scared as hell, but tried to brush it off. Then the worst case scenario happened. I saw the man walking towards the door of our tram. He got on, keeping very intense eye contact with us. This man had followed us to the tram. It could have been a coincidence because he entered so much later than us. He had noticed that we had left the bus and made the last-minute decision to follow us. He walked towards us, fists clenched. I was sure he was going to hit me, so I raised my hand to protect my head. He just stood there for a moment while I waited for the punch. Luckily, it never came. He sat down very close to us and started talking about how he would kill those men and that he knew where they lived. With text messages, my friend and I decided to get off a stop earlier than we had planned to. On the stop, we immediately started running until we reached a shady walkway where we could still see the stop. We stayed there silent for a moment until we were sure the man didn't get off. After that, we walked through the forest to make sure he couldn't find us anymore. Gosh. Finally, we made it back back safely to my friend's place. But holy hell, I was scared. God. Well, what a lovely one to finish on. I mean, a few of these really got me. I'm just glad I'm recording this at like 7 o'clock in the evening rather than like 11 or 12, which is when I usually record, so I feel a little bit safer. But that is going to do it for tonight's video. I really hope you did enjoy it. Hopefully you got a bit scared as we approach Halloween, but hopefully as well you found it relaxing as always. But if you did enjoy this video and you're able to, then please do give it a like and subscribe if you're new. And until the next video, everybody,